It appears that the Robbie Ray trade that the Mariners executed a few weeks ago may not be the last time they trade a starting pitcher this offseason. We're going to get into this. You can see the tweet right next to me from Jim Bowden. He tells us Mariners continue to listen to trade proposals for pitchers in their starting rotation since the return in this market would be inflated. We have not been able to get deals done for Shane Bieber and Dylan Cease and Jesus Luzardo and Edward Cabrera because these teams are asking for so much. But here's the thing. So far, for the most part, teams trading for these pitchers have not been willing to pony up. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the Mariners are listening to trade proposals, and what that would mean if they made a trade is it would bring Blake Snell into the fold. Blake Snell is looking for a market, looking for teams that are willing to pay him $200 million. He hasn't found one yet. Maybe Seattle would if they traded Gilbert, Castillo, Kirby, one of their pitchers, Miller. Maybe Blake Snell would find his way to Seattle. Comment below. Let me know what you think. In this video, we are going to talk about the Mariners rotation. We're going to consider the best trade partners for Blake Snell. There are a lot of them. Not Blake Snell. The best trade partners for the current Mariners pitchers, them being Castillo, Gilbert, and Kirby. We're going to take a look at the best trade partners, and we're going to put some proposals together as we maybe try to find the right trade fit. Again, comment down below. What is your trade? Hit that like if you have not yet. Subscribe if you have not yet. Let's get into this thing again. The Mariners rotation right now, Castillo, Gilbert, Kirby, Miller, and Wu. If you take Castillo, Gilbert, or Kirby out of the equation, certainly Blake Snell fits in there. Now, the interesting element here is that Castillo's the only one making real money. Kirby and Gilbert are cheap. They are in arbitration, pre-arbitration. They are not making $15, $20 million at this moment. So you would think there would be some hesitancy to trade those two unless the return is through the roof. You would think Castillo may be the preferred piece here. Now, why? Why have we gone down this road? Why are we talking about this? Mariners fans, you know, let me educate everybody else. The Mariners, in an attempt to improve their lineup, that's the piece here. That is what they would be looking for in return. We take a look at this lineup. Lineup's okay. If Luke Raley is the starting left fielder, that might not get the job done. Luis Arias, Jose Rojas, Josh Rojas, I feel like we really can target those three spots in the lineup to improve. Mitch Garver should be a good DH, but certainly when you consider the Astros, when you consider the Rangers, just in that division, the Mariners need some upgrades here, and they cannot go out there and spend big. So we are not only looking for a bat, a significant bat in return, we're also looking for years of control. We're looking for cheap offensive talent. So who could partner here with Seattle? Well, we certainly could fire up some of those Dylan Cease trade rumor teams, the Braves, the Orioles, and Reds. We'll kind of go through this 3 teams at a time. Now, who would we pinpoint here? We would pinpoint Michael Harris. That's an interesting one, Atlanta. I know you got thoughts on that. We will revisit that in a minute. Anthony Santander. I think that is probably the way the Orioles would go. I don't know if the Mariners would go that route. I don't even think the Mariners would want to go Cedric Mullins. I think just like everybody else in the markets, they want to target those prospects, but I don't think the Orioles would give any of them up. If they did, they'd have Dylan Cease on the roster right now. The Reds, we do have to go to young talent here because that's basically what they've got. And when you think about Steer or CES or Ellie De La Cruz or Matt McClain, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I feel like Noelvi Marte might be the guy if we're targeting somebody here. How about the Dodgers, Yankees, and Cardinals? 3 more teams that were in on Dylan Cease trade conversations at one point or another. This is another interesting one. Again, you can already tell these are good. Guys, if you don't like the player that we're putting up with your team, then you're out on the Seattle Mariners trade because you are not going to get any of those pitchers unless you give up something that hurts. Something that you say, hell no, we're not giving up that player. So again, we've already seen a few. We're going to continue. Dodgers. It's probably going to mean a James Outman-centered trade if you want to get one of those three. Yankees, Gleyber Torres, and a prospect, because Gleyber's value, you need some help there with Gleyber's value. Cardinals, Nolan Gorman. This is where you're going to have to live. This is the air that we're breathing when we're talking about prospects. Let's move on to, we'll sort of get away from those Dylan Cease-linked teams. Look at the Cubs, Phillies, and Rays, because this would not stop. Teams that need pitching, teams that are going for it, will all be in on these pitchers from Seattle. So where do we go? Cubs, it's Christopher Morel. Phillies, it's Bryson Stott. Rays, it's Randy Arozarena. These are the pieces you got to build around. And even in many instances, this piece alone doesn't get the job done. Randy Arozarena for Logan Gilbert doesn't get the job done. Let's continue. We have three more. We have the Red Sox, the Twins, and the Mets. Now we are pretty much out of the Dylan Cease conversation. I know Red Sox were mentioned a little bit, but Twins and Mets never were. Mets are the longest shot here. I include them because they need pitching in the worst way. And if they could get one of these three, this figures in for that future conversation that we keep talking about with the Mets and how they are building their team. But the Mets are going to have the biggest uphill challenge. We're going to include a one-time top prospect, but it's not going to be just him. Let's put him on the board. Red Sox, Duran. Twins, Royce Lewis. Mets, it's Brett Baty, and I put a plus there, so you guys all know that Brett Baty alone doesn't even come close. It would have to be Brett Baty plus like three other prospects. Sorry, Brett Baty is just not great. That's why the Mets are not a great partner here, but they would have to be in the conversations trying to figure out a way to get something done. So those are our best trade partners. Those are the teams that would certainly be looking, of all the teams out there, I think the teams that we would start with when we start to consider who would trade for them. So now let's try to put together the trade. How do we get to a trade here? Using baseball trade values as a guideline, we can find the values for, we're going to focus on Gilbert, Castillo, and Kirby. Kirby is at an insane $91.1 million value, which might write it off altogether, except maybe not in one instance. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. Braves fans, I told you we were going to talk about Michael Harris again. Luis Castillo's at 22.7 because he actually has a lot of money attached. He's got a contract. He's got some serious dollars. And Logan Gilbert is a year beyond George Kirby. So he's got it's the 65.9, which you can get to when you're using some of the players we just talked about. Of those players we just talked about, who's got the highest value? Well, I got the top four. Noelvi Marte carries a $39.4 million value. So we're not too far away from Logan Gilbert. We could easily get Luis Castillo done. Reds fans, you want Luis Castillo back? So we have 39.4 for Noelvi Marte. We have 43.7 for Logan Gilbert. Again, we're getting close to, or not Logan Gilbert, but Nolan Gorman. We're getting close to a Logan Gilbert trade here. You throw in a prospect with Nolan Gorman and maybe you're there. Cardinals fans, are you doing that? This guy can crush the baseball. You willing to give him up? And the pitching need is desperate. But at this cost, because I don't think you can get it done any other way. You're not going to get it done with a package of Lars Nootbaar and Dylan Carlson. It's not going to get it done. Royce Lewis carries a heavy value on this website. $74 million. He's not the highest. There's one more that's going to be higher. Astronomically higher. $74 million for Royce Lewis. So can we get a deal straight up, Gilbert, for Lewis? And the highest value of everybody that we're looking at here is Michael Harris. $176 million value. Now, Michael Harris does come with the stipulation of trading young players. Alex Anthopoulos says he's not going to do that. So this is probably not going to happen. But let's live in a fun world anywhere where Alex Anthopoulos decides to change his mind. But it's highly unlikely. And that's where this gets interesting for the Braves, because a lot of the Braves pieces that you could use in a trade for Gilbert, Castillo, and I don't think it would be Castillo, but Gilbert or Kirby, they're all young players that have been handed that lockdown contract. You sign at a young age, they don't trade you. But again, we're going to live in a fun imaginary world for a minute where maybe Alex Anthopoulos changes his mind because, I don't know, Michael Harris really wants to be a Mariner. What if we have Kirby for Harris straight up? Would you do it? Obviously, you can see the values here are completely skewed. Michael Harris did that 176 because of that contract. Let's get to maybe some more realistic trades of the unrealistic nature, the most realistic of the unrealistic. We've got Royce Lewis for Logan Gilbert straight up. I can't imagine we get to a spot where the Mariners actually have to add more to get to Royce Lewis's value. But again, we're living in a world. The reason why the Mariners are listening to trade offers is because it is an inflated market right now. So you are going to have to overpay to get these players. If Braves, you want if you want George Kirby, Michael Harris is going to have to be on the table. Twins fans, if you want Logan Gilbert, Royce Lewis has to be on the table. Let's keep on moving. Let's get down here. Again, Nolan Gorman is going to have to be on the table for Luis Castillo. Even though the value is heavier for Nolan Gorman, maybe what you have to do if you want to get Luis Castillo, because there will certainly be a bidding war on the trade front. Let's put some more trades in front of you. How about this one? This one is a little bit more in line when we think about the baseball trade values valuation. Castillo for Morel straight up is pretty close. Dodgers, haven't forgotten about you. Logan Gilbert for the future. James Paxton is a one-year thing. Dustin May could be used in the trade. Walker Buehler could be gone after a year. Logan Gilbert, slide him in there. Outman, Sheehan, and May. It's a big price to pay. But can you get a deal done? It seems like there is definitely an opportunity here for somebody to step up. But are they willing to pay the price? Comment down below, those of you watching. What's your trade? Which of the three do you want? And Mariners fans, I haven't forgot about you. Would you rather have Blake Snell and a bat? Or would you rather hold on to these three arms? Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. That's it for this one, everybody. I do appreciate you coming in. Make sure, again, to hit that like before you leave and subscribe if you are new. Comment down below. We have all of our goals. We'd love to get to those if possible. So, again, do your part. Help us out. Comment. Help us get to that comment goal. Like and help us get to those like goals. Ballcap Nation, I salute you. Thank you guys for coming in. As always, if it's low, let it go. And if it's high, let it fly.